And he goes on to talk about some other things about, well, I'll just read it. Let me just read it. And he also said, where a guy is perfectly healthy, obviously he's referring to Anthony Davis, and has a couple of years left on his deal and says, I want to leave, I think that's a real problem that the league has to address, that the players have to be careful with. So this is all on the podcast, and he goes on to talk about some other things as well. But basically, he's not a fan for a guy basically making his way out of a team. And if you sign a contract, you need to keep the contract and, and all that stuff. Here's what I want to say about that. Excuse me. Then I need that same type of energy from Steve Kerr when you trade a guy like DeMar DeRozan. He signed a contract as well with the Toronto Raptors. He actually said he wanted to be there. His contract was to stay with the Toronto Raptors. But they had better ideas. Obviously, DeMar DeRozan felt that they could get to the NBA Finals with him and Kyle Lowry and other guys and make some noise. The Raptors felt different. And although I don't, particularly like, stuff like that when a guy wants to be there and they decide, no, we're going to go ahead and you're gone. It's the team's right. It's the team's right. It's not a crime or anything. It's not against a policy. They're not breaking any rules or anything like that. It's a contract, and they have the option to trade you, and you finish that contract somewhere else. And to me, that is the same thing Anthony Davis is doing. It's a contract. And if you have the option, because every guy doesn't have the option. So if you have the option, then you can use your leverage or whatever it is that you want to move somewhere else. And the comment that Steve Kerr is making, I get what he's saying. He's saying, he doesn't want this to be a trend where guys, abuse it or whatever, or just say, you know what, I want out of here. Because he referenced, LeBron, fulfilling his contract. He referenced KD fulfilling his contract and then leaving, as a free agent. Well, of course, that was their choice as well, too. But they're mega superstars. If LeBron wanted early out of a deal, he would have got out of it. If KD wanted early, he would have got out of it. But I think the other thing is, when I look at this about the whole Anthony Davis situation, is that is it something behind the scenes that we don't know about? Is it something that Anthony Davis is not telling everyone? He could not agree with the direction that the team was going. He could have been told one thing and something else happened. Or maybe, just maybe, now I'm just saying, maybe he might have saw what everybody else saw in the NBA, or every NBA fan that watched, and knew New Orleans ain't going nowhere. Despite what he does, what he do, or what he can do, they're not going to go anywhere. So I might as well leave 2 years now instead of wasting 2 years and leave anyway. Last time I checked, they did get some guys back for him versus him just leaving and they didn't get anything. So it's not like he just left them high and dry. So if you're going to say, all I'm saying on this is that if you're going to say that a person needs to honor their contract, then the team needs to honor that contract as well. They sign that contract. If you sign a 5-year deal, you sign a 5-year deal to play for that team. But if you're saying, hey, you signed a 5-year deal to play NBA basketball, and if we need to trade you or we want to trade you, then we can trade you, then all bets are off. It's the same thing. I signed a 5-year contract to play in the NBA. I did not sign a 5-year contract to play just solely for your team. And that happens all the time. That's part of the business. Unfortunately, that is the ugly part of the business. Guys get traded that don't want to leave. And then on vice versa, guys leave that the team don't want them to leave. So I'm just saying. Now, some people will say, well, look how the NBA played out. And it's so balanced now. And maybe the Pelicans could have had. You're possibly right. But you tell me, who knew Paul George was going to the Clippers? You tell me, who knew Russell Westbrook was going to end up in Houston? Who saw KD going to the Nets? And Kyrie. I mean, of course, there was some talks about it, but all this balance. Who saw all of this play out? Nobody. So you're asking him to predict the future. Okay? So that's all I'm saying. So I respect Steve Kerr. I respect his thoughts, about it, but I disagree with it. I mean, if you're gonna speak one side, you got to speak the other side too. If you're going to do a contract, then no matter what, then we shouldn't trade players that's still in contract because you signed a contract. So that's all I want to say about it. Now, let's get off Steve Kerr and let's get back into football. And we talked about the NFC East before, and we're going to talk about the AFC South, ladies and gentlemen. So we are talking about NFL divisions going down. Coming up, preseason is right around the corner. So Hard Knocks is right around the corner and all that stuff. So we'll be kicking off the Hall of Fame game pretty soon. So we're talking divisions, and the AFC South, which is the Colts, the Jags, the Titans, and the Texans. And for me, this division last year, it was, and maybe even the year before, you could say, it was maybe one or two teams. I think this year is going to be tight between all four teams. And let me start with the Titans. The Titans still got Marcus Mariota, so you still got question marks as far as like what you're going to do with Marcus Mariota. But I think they may have finally figured out something there in Tennessee, in Nashville. There's a guy that's like 6'10", and all muscles, and it's pretty hard to bring him down in Derrick Henry. Maybe we need to, have the offense, revolve around him. Maybe that takes a little bit of pressure off of Marcus Mariota. Now, they are losing Taylor Lewan just recently. This just broke today for 4 games. He failed a test that he's going to get suspended for 4 games. I mean, he said, unfortunately, he took something that he didn't know that was on the banned list. So he's going to miss 4 games. That's going to hurt them, especially they got some division games that they're going to be playing early. Now, you got some question marks. Corey Davis, is he's going to, continue to progress? Delaney Walker will be back. What are you going to get from him after, his injury? He had a really bad injury last year. And someone just got paid. If I remember, this came across, and let me find it real quick. But I want to say Darius Byrd just became, the highest paid safety. This just happened while we were on air. 5-year, $70.5 million extension. So he told them, "Show me the money!" And they showed him the money. So this Titan defense is really, I think, better than a lot of people give them credit for. So if they are going to have success, it's going to be defense and running the ball. Defense running the ball. And not trying to put it solely into Marcus Mariota's hand. Now, Marcus Mariota might not finish the season. He could end up watching Ryan Tannehill, but I don't know if that is still the answer as well. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. So for the Titans, I got them at 8-8. I'm sorry, 9-7. I got them 9-7 in the division. So we move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, just today, Jalen Ramsey showed up for camp. And he just didn't show up. He showed out. The man came in a Brinks truck with a bunch of money bags in the back. He had Davis out there introducing him, talking about he want that money, you know. And Jacksonville got a lot of answers, or a lot of questions to answer. Leonard Fournette, is he going to get through a whole season? You got a new quarterback in Nick Foles. Can Nick Foles bring you that magic that he brought in Philadelphia? The defense was a monster 2 years ago. And then something happened. It was like no one was scared of Jacksonville, and they were nowhere near the defense that they were 2 years ago. Can they get that back? Can guys like Calais Campbell help them get that back? On Miles Jack, and, you know, I think they were expecting a lot of things from Miles Jack, and you know, he is I think someone that flashed what they were expecting early, but it wasn't consistent. So can you get that consistent from him? How are they going to do without Telvin Smith? He is basically retired. You know, paper-wise, he is retired because he had took a year off from football to handle some things on the personal side that he needs to take care of. Wide receivers, you know, who are going to be your go-to wide receivers on this team. So they got a lot of question marks, and I don't know, you know, that season that they had might be us just talking about, remember, you know, a few years ago, man, they had it together, and what happened, you know, at this point. So, and Jalen Ramsey, he's not going to be back. They're not going to sign him. He's going to get his money. He's going to go get paid somewhere else. But it just won't be in Jacksonville. So obviously he'll be motivated to shut corners down. Wide receivers down, and he would be anyway. But with this team, I put them at 8-8. I don't know if Nick Foles is going to be able to put them in double digits. So you got 9-7 and 8-8. Now, here's the two teams, you know, that people are probably going to be thinking is going to battle for this division, and that is the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts. So let's start with the Houston Texans. Jadeveon Clowney, he is pretty much like Jalen Ramsey. He is, you know, he won't be back after this year. He wanted a new deal. The Texans aren't wanting to give him the money that he wants. I think they franchise tagged him. So he'll probably play under that franchise tag and be a free agent, obviously, next year. So you got to run. You got a big run that you could put together with guys like J.J. Watt. And J.J. Watt, dare I say, he's slowing down a little bit. But the crazy part about it, him slowing down, he's still better than a lot of players out there. It was just the numbers that he was putting up before, they were just uncommon, and they weren't normal for a human being like J.J. Watt to be doing some of the things that, you know, that he was doing. But this team, more than anything, they are going to win games off the feet and arms of one Deshaun Watson. He has shown, which I'm still surprised he fell to the Texans as late as he did, because I just thought in that draft he was one of the most pro-ready quarterbacks. He had shown, you know, he could handle the lights and the flashing lights and stage, you know, that is set for a quarterback to perform on. And I guess other people felt different, but now I'm sure some of them are regretting those choices. But Deshaun Watson, his progression, he has to stay healthy. He cannot put himself in harm's way like he did last year with taking hit after hit after hit after hit. DeAndre Hopkins, he'll be what he is. I mean, you don't have to worry about him at this point. He is their Andre Johnson currently, where Andre Johnson, you didn't have